First of all, I want to apologise if my voice sounds a bit off in this video. My throat is, well, it's something I can't say in the first few seconds of a YouTube video without being demonetized, so I'll leave that to your imagination. But anyway, hello everyone! This is Remlays from 40k Theories, and welcome to the October 2024 edition of the Patreon Q&A sessions. As always, if you would like your questions answered, then click the link in the video description below and help support the channel by becoming a patron. Now, let's jump into the questions. Sigmanite asks, is it possible for orcs to use Necrons as parts for whatever they are building and have no issue with them reanimating? What, Necrons themselves or Necron tech? Because if it's Necron tech, then assuming that it didn't just phase out after being damaged, I see no reason why not, but if it's Necrons themselves, that might be a bit of a different issue. Brandon A asks, is there an inquisitorial order to watch almost every Imperial group to keep them all in line? Yes. How long can a Grey Knight live for? We don't know for certain, but I did do a video on Space Marine lifespans a while back, so go check that out. Are there any other Astartes contests like the Feast of Blades for say the Ultramarines, Dark Angels, etc.? I vaguely recall reading about an Ultramarine contest that was basically their version of the Olympics, but take that with a massive grain of salt because I can't remember the source and there is a possibility that it could have just been fanfiction, so yeah, but as far as I'm aware, no, not I can think of. Austin Horner asks, in the novel Lilith Hesperak's Queen of Knives, once Lilith has returned to Camorra, she loses the protection of the Ynnari, and the soul first of the Drukhari returns to her, with this seemingly affecting even those in Lilith's entourage who are devout to the Ynnari. Do you believe that Yvraine intentionally removed the protection from Lilith and her followers as punishment/incentive to return, or are the blessings/promises of Inad limited to only a relatively small range around Yvraine? Well, considering that Lilith and Yvraine were being very catty to each other in the early parts of that novel, it would be kind of funny if that's the case, but I think it's more likely due to the fact that Inad itself is still a very, very young god. Like, it's still embryonic, for lack of a better term. Like, he hasn't reached full power, or it, or she, or whatever gender you want to give it. The point is, considering that Inad hasn't awoken to full consciousness yet, it's possible that this is simply due to the fact that Inad simply isn't powerful enough to, like, maintain its power over all of its followers over every single area, if that makes sense. Zero Hits asks, the Raptor project of the Raven Guard. We know the later generations mutated and either found their deaths in battle or at the hands of their father, but we also know that there were examples of the Raptors who came out as intended. Do we know if all of the pure Raptors were killed during the heresy, and if so, do we know if any of their gene seed was recovered and preserved? There was a vague implication that pure Raptors went on to found the Raptors chapter, a very vague implication, but that seems to have been retconned with a recent White Dwarf article which basically just gave the Raptors the entire backstory of the Black Guard chapter, so what the Black Guard are going to do now, I have no clue, because I think Games Workshop just forgot about them, but I digress. I think it's just safe to assume that they all just died, considering that the Raven Guard themselves took exceptionally high losses during the Horus Heresy, so long story short, I have no idea. Griffin of Might asks, now that has been revealed that there are entire groups of Wordbearer loyalists who stayed loyal due to being away from the Legion when the corruption began, which I think is an absolutely stupid retcon, but that's another issue, is it possible any current chapter is actually descended from them? Assuming that there are enough Wordbearer loyalists to actually found a chapter themselves, it's possible, but you need to have like an entire great company's worth at least. Like if it's just one or two Wordbearer loyalists, it's more likely that they would have been folded into the ranks of another chapter, so there's that. If it's just using their gene seed, I find it unlikely. So in essence, it's not impossible, but it is extremely unlikely. And finally, Taliesin Amel asks, we all know Lord Commander Dante in his golden power armor with the death mask of Sanguinius, but how did he actually get it? Has it been handed down from chapter master to chapter master? If I remember the events of the Dante novel correctly, then yeah, that's exactly it, yeah. And that concludes this edition of the Patreon Q&A sessions. As always, if you would like your questions answered, then click the link in the video description below and help support the channel by becoming a patron. Until next time, this has been Remlays from 40k Theories, and we'll see you again soon. Bye bye!